to think that just because someone didn't have a friend, a therapist, or somebody to talk to, like you're saying, like call somebody they could reach with no money, and somebody would care for them. Just a little voice, somebody can listen to your problem, somebody can listen to you. And that's a huge thing for people who thinking about ending lives, which should never be even in their thoughts, is that there should always be somebody here for you.
Yeah, or always to think there is, even calling that 1-800-273-8255, there is always somebody there. There's always options. You know, that sometimes they forget they have choices or that there's a way out, you know, and there is.
Yeah.
If they can just open up and calm down. Sometimes a simple thing is breathing. Nice and deeply and slowly. Our breath is our most natural way to calm down, you know, so just breathing and slow down and say it's going, reassure, it's going to be okay, is a really, really simple way, you know, to calm yourself. So kind of like going back to the
So you wrote a book.
Hmm?
You wrote a book. Is that your book behind? And I see.
I have a podcast.
Oh, that's your podcast.
Yeah,
oh, okay. So what do you teach in your podcast?
And it's called Anxiety Simplified. And it teaches techniques to calm and to be able to think through things, reassure. It just gives techniques and ways. For my 30 years as a therapist, I wanted to share these things, again, all free resources, on ways to look at what is a panic attack. Some people don't realize what those are. And so, you know, it's really some ways to come up with some simplified ways to help. One of the simplest ways I have found.
And you know, it's funny. Okay. I was just going to say, some people who's experienced the very first panic attack, when I have not, they didn't know it was a panic attack, like you were describing. They don't know what it looks like. So they like, it's only years later when they get off a depression cycle, they realize, what was that, a panic attack? So describe to me what a panic attack could be.
Okay, love to. Yeah, because, and I'll tell you, I do evaluations for people who want to have an emotional support animal. And in that it has to be a psychological evaluation that I, you know, look at what's going on in their life. And I'll tell you, most people, if I ask, do you have panic attacks? They say no. But when I ask, do you ever have an episode of anxiety that kind of just washes over you so fast you don't know what happens, and you have symptoms like your heart is racing, you get hot or sweaty or clammy palms, or short of breath and you feel enclosed, or maybe lightheaded or dizzy? They go, oh yeah, I have that sometimes. And so those are just a few. There's actually 13 symptoms. And so you can only do 4 of them to be what we would clinically consider a panic attack. But yeah, a lot of people are going through and they don't even know what's going on. All of a sudden they go, you know, they're panting and they don't even know.
You know, there's other symptoms I experienced, like, or did not experience in the past, if you like overstressed. It's pain in my ear. I never got that until last 2 years. I'm like, what is that? Why am I getting pain in my ear? So it could be like from an old infection, or I have toothaches and stuff. And now whenever I do get stressed, I will get immediate like semi-headache, tension, pain in my ear. I'm like, oh my. So some other people have, like you saying, the sweating thing right away.
Yeah.
Could be the shaking.
Yeah, it's like a hot wave. Or it can be cold too. Some people get hot and cold. But it's like this body shutdown, really, kind of a sensation like your body's ready to fight or run, or it freezes up. And it's very similar to what happens, like if something happens in and you don't know what to do, and your body gets ready and it pools all the blood around your heart. So sometimes people even have tingling or numbness in their hands because, again, the body's taking care of you. The blood kind of drains out of your head and goes to your heart, or you're ready to run. So yeah, it can have all those symptoms, and it's actually helping you, to get ready. And that's what anxiety is really meant to do, is help you get ready. And if you can just tell yourself, like, reassure yourself, you're going to be okay. If you're afraid because you're going to go speak in front of a crowd or fly on a plane. That's what I hear a lot, is flying on a plane. People are like,
What?
And I tell them, reassure yourself, you're going to be all right. It's safer than driving, but really try to reassure yourself and breathe. That's one of your
Yeah,
main.
say good things. Start by using good words, good terminology, aggressive words, positive words with no and but. Those are things that I learned recently for so many other like social worker and psychologists and stuff. So other things you can do is, like you said, breathe, find like music that can relaxes you, talk to a friend, address an issue, and just just don't start making something big out something really small. A lot of time you start worrying about making a big scenario in your head and how it could be, how things could go awfully. A lot of time people do that and it doesn't go that way. And then months later you realize all of this worry for nothing. None of these things that I, see in my head, like imagine happen. So a lot of time we worry for nothing, we make up things, and we got to stop. So once you realize that, then you are in charge of your thoughts process. You do not need to worry. You do not know what's going to happen. You cannot predict the future. Then it's much easier. But this takes a long, there's way more to that to be learned. If you want to, help yourself, you gotta either pick a life coach, a therapist, a psychologist. I mean, there's just so many ways. Listen to a podcast, do some meditation, it's just yoga. Yoga is great for breathing techniques. I learn from the best. I still learn every day. There's people like, it's just so many ways and techniques, ways to improve yourself every day and go through your triggers and traumas and all this stuff. So,
and these are skills. And I think sometimes people forget that these are learned. We don't come with this automatic knowing. We learn, we use the skills to understand what works for you. And you just named off a lot of them,
Like and the other things that people always say that works best that can help people is facing their fear. It's easy to say, nobody wants to face their fear, but when we do that, we cut a lot of barriers. Like everything that is wrong in your life is usually because you're not facing those fears. So when you start doing that, you see life will just get so much better.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Be able to feel much better. So.
And one of the things, like I was saying, I certify people to have an emotional support animal. And that is one of the ways I have found helps people face their fears better than any way ever. And I found out about it, and I have my little guy right here with me right now.
Sweet.
That, I found out about this flying on a plane because I have anxiety to fly. And the flight attendant told me about a program that you can get a letter, from a therapist that does recommend you to have an animal to fly with you. And so, the last 7 years, that's become my specialty. And I've never seen anything as having an emotional support animal to grab when you're afraid and hug. And, you know, for suicide is the same thing. I cannot tell you how many clients have told me they had been thinking about suicide, didn't know what to do. And they looked their little doggy in the eyes and they couldn't do it. They could not do it, you know. So an animal in your life or just petting an animal has been shown as one of the ways to calm, and that animals give meaning and benefit to your life. So you can
Yes.
actually, you know, help by even maybe bringing your animal over to your
Yeah.
grandparents' house. Let them just kind of feel the calm.
Picked up on the stress vibe. Yeah, it's funny, but it's true. A lot of people do find like how do you call this consolation? Like they feel better when they have an animal, and you can get pretty close to your animal. So if you don't have a best friend or a life partner, or you just can't seem to be just connected to a, I mean, a lot of people find it's better to just get animals. And it doesn't have to be just one. I see people love to have so many animals. I remember a woman from my past, she had like 10 parakeets, like 4 cats, 4 dogs, and rats, like everything. And that was like a way to like feel better, you know?
They're like children, you know, in a lot of ways, and they keep you busy and they make your mind, you know, go to caretaking, giving to another person. And it really does help us a lot of times to get us out of our own head. You know, I have to think about something else. And they do give us back a lot of love too.
Wow. So everybody go check out Anxiety Simplified, step-by-step solution. It was great to have you, Johan William. And she can be found on Master of Reinvention or on a website. And thanks for all these great tips and for coming on today.
Thank you so much. Yes, I have a lot of free resources on my website, anxietysimplified.net.
All right, go check it out, everybody. Thanks. Goodbye.
Thank you.
All right, I hope everybody enjoyed this. That was Johan